You only really need these items to get started with embroidery, and there are a few items I now can't go without and think you should consider too. After about a year and a half of running our embroidery business, we now have everything that we need to run it smoothly. I'll be sharing all the bare necessities to getting started with embroidery, but also some areas where you may want to consider investing more. Starting with the 5 tools and materials you absolutely need to get started. Starting with fabric. This is an obvious item. You're going to need spare fabric or the apparel that you'll be embroidering on. If you're just getting started, I suggest that you go to your local fabric store to purchase fabric that closely matches the apparel or the material that you will ultimately be embroidering on. That way you can test your tension and not be worried about ruining your apparel. We are using crew necks that are 80% cotton, 20% polyester, and I was able to find a 60-40 blend, which is close enough. This helped me dial in our tension and stitch out, embroider out my designs to fine tune them before getting it onto apparel. All right, so now stabilizer. There are many types of stabilizer and each will depend on the type of fabric or material that you are embroidering on. All right, so you have your cutaway stabilizer, which will provide long-term stability and support. And this stabilizer is best for materials that are stretchy or a little heavier weight. On the other hand, you have tearaway stabilizer that is best for short-term support, best for lightweight fabrics or more delicate fabrics such as denim, and also best for the lower stitch density designs. And then you have your water-soluble stabilizer, which will leave no trace, making it suitable for very intricate designs or freestanding lace, and when using delicate materials such as sheer fabric. All right, the next must-have item is your embroidery machine. Selecting an embroidery machine can be an overwhelming task, and even deciding whether to go between a single needle or a multi-needle machine can be overwhelming. So here are 3 considerations for you to keep in mind when making that decision. The first one is the complexity and size of your projects. How complex or how detailed are your projects going to be? A single needle machine will work great for simple designs that have 1 to 2 colors, with the understanding that you'll have to manually swap out the thread in between the colors. Our Baby Lock machine has 6 needles, so it gives us more flexibility on the detail of our designs and how many colors we use. We can step away from the machine as it's embroidering, knowing that I don't have to be swapping out, rethreading the needles, so that also makes the project a little bit more efficient. The second consideration is budget. What is your budget for an embroidery machine, and how risk adverse can you be with investing in your business? A single needle machine is going to be a lot more affordable, and that could be a good option to start and then later progressing to a multi-needle machine. A multi-needle machine, on the other hand, is going to be a lot more expensive. However, they usually come with added convenience and features such as multiple thread, multiple needles, which increases the efficiency or the time in which a project can be completed. And lastly, space. How much space do you have for an embroidery machine? As you can imagine, a single needle machine is going to be a lot more compact than a multi-needle machine. After taking these considerations in mind, we were fortunate to start with a multi-needle machine because we knew that we were going to design things that were more complex and designs with multiple colors. We have a small bedroom in our home that we use for our small business, so we set the embroidery machine on a table with noise dampening feet designed for washing machines. We're really happy with our decision and the added features that we get to use, including some software items that I'll discuss later. Okay, the fourth must-have item is bobbin and embroidery thread. Bobbin thread is just as important as embroidery thread as it provides stability to the underside of the design of the fabric. When your embroidery and bobbin thread are properly adjusted for tension, it ensures that there's no puckering on the underside of the fabric. And so when choosing your bobbin thread, make sure that you are selecting the bobbin thread specifically designed for machine embroidery, as that will withstand the high speeds of embroidery. Okay, so with machine embroidery thread, you have a few options from polyester, rayon, metallic, cotton thread, and all of these will have different properties, different finishes that'll be best suited for specific projects. For example, cotton thread will have more of a matte finish, so that might be best for the rustic vintage style projects. Polyester thread, on the other hand, is a lot more vibrant. The colors will stay on longer after various washes, so that's sometimes a best option for the wearable embroidery projects. Right, the fifth and final must-have item are a pair of sharp scissors. Having scissors specifically for your embroidery project will be very important. This set comes with 3 different options. You have your regular fabric shears, which are going to be best for cutting larger pieces of material, such as the fabric or stabilizer. And the detail scissors and thread snips are going to be best for the hard-to-reach areas. These 5 tools and materials are enough to get started. Now let's talk about software. If you want absolute control and creative freedom for your embroidery projects, then consider learning how to digitize. Like with any new skill, it's going to take some time to learn and master, but it'll open up so many options and creativity with your embroidery projects. We decided to go with Hatch Embroidery 3 because of the vast amount of resources and learning materials available. In our search for digitizing software, we came across John Deere, who's created a community around learning to digitize. So that was very helpful for me when getting started. Now he's released his own digitizing software, which I'm sure also comes with a lot of learning materials and resources. So that could also be a solid option for you. Now, there are other options aside from learning to digitize. You don't need to know how to do that in order to start embroidering. You can access embroidery files through marketplaces such as Creative Fabrica or Etsy. If you are planning on selling your projects from these files, then just double check that you have commercial licensing, and that'll be listed in the description of the file. And bonus software tip is the design database transfer, which is specific to the Baby Lock. And this software allows you to wirelessly transfer your embroidered files to your machine. That's worked really well for me. You could also use a USB drive if that works better for you, but this is a more seamless and just instant way to transfer that file. Now that we've covered all the must-haves, here are a few items and accessories that have increased the efficiency and comfort of my embroidery process. As you may know, an embroidery machine is super loud, so having some high-quality noise-canceling headphones are a must. In my case, I have the embroidery machine right next to my computer, and so as the embroidery machine is going and I'm doing some work or digitizing on the computer, I knew that I needed to get a good pair of over-the-ear noise-canceling headphones, and the Sony XM5s have been great. I love them. I even love the color. I think there's also some really nice pink ones too, so you should check those out. Next up are the Mighty Hoops and Mighty Hoop Station. Hooping crew necks with the traditional frames turned out to be quite a bit of a pain for me, as I had to fumble around with the fabric and stabilizer and second guessing the placement onto the crew neck because I wanted to make sure that it was in the center of the crew neck. The Mighty Hoops, along with the station, have alleviated a lot of that stress and has made it a lot easier for me to duplicate the placement from one crew neck to another. Based on the size of the crew neck that I'm embroidering on, there's going to be a subtle shift of placement for centering on that crew neck. So with the guide, I was able to take note of the starting point for each size. And so again, I was able to more quickly hoop and get the crew neck embroidered much quicker. The hoops themselves are amazing. They have a strong magnet, so they quickly snap and keep the stabilizer and fabric in place, and there's a perfect amount of tension, making sure that it is a tight fit on the hoop. This is the tubular hoop support from Mighty Hoops. If you are considering using the Mighty Hoops, you should definitely get this item so that it reduces, or actually completely eliminates, the bouncing of the hoop when the machine is embroidering. I noticed that the Mighty Hoops would bounce a lot when the machine was embroidering, and learned that over time that can be very stressful on the embroidery arm. So this is a quick fix and completely, again, eliminates the bouncing during embroidering. Okay, let's talk about threads. As I was testing and fine-tuning the designs that I was creating, it was very helpful to have a variety of colors to choose from and just have in front of me to really see those colors in person. And this was a great way to test a bunch of different colors without buying the bigger spools. So once I selected or found the color that I wanted, then I could make the decision to buy the bigger embroidery thread spools. Let's talk about thread tension. It took me a little while to figure out how to properly adjust the tension of my bobbin and embroidery thread, and this tension gauge was super handy, giving me exact values as I was dialing both the embroidery and the bobbin thread. So if you're having trouble with tension, which I know a lot of us do, consider this tool to help make that a little bit easier. All right, the thread burner. When your project is done, you will turn it inside out, and you'll want to tidy up the stabilizer, the extra thread from jump cuts and all of that, to make sure that it's just as smooth as possible and clean. And this thread burner torch is really efficient and quick to complete that step. It takes a little time to really get comfortable using it, but this one has a good dial to increase or decrease the intensity of the flame. Okay, a compressed air duster. This is going to come in handy with your daily maintenance of your embroidery machine and your bobbin case. You'll want to make sure to clean out and dust out the hook cover. Sometimes there's thread that gets built up and dust, so to prevent any thread breaks or any issues during your embroidery process, you want to make sure that that is cleaned out at least at the start of your embroidery, or if not, after a few projects. You'll want to do the same with the bobbin case. It's really easy for extra dust or gunk to get built up. I usually dust it and clean it out every time I change or add a new bobbin thread. Okay, tailor's chalk. This is really handy to make any center points or marks to help with the alignment of your hoops or your frames. I'm still in the habit of doing a crosshair for the center point of my design. For example, I still measure out 3 inches from the bottom of the neck to mark the center of a medium-sized crew neck. Up next is a long neck machine oil bottle. Whenever I turn on my machine, it indicates the need for a drop of oil in the bobbin case. And my machine did come with a bottle, however, I cut it incorrectly, and so when I did use it, a lot of oil would come out, and that extra oil would leach into the first stitches of my design. And so this bottle gives me that added precision so that I make sure I only add 1 drop to my machine. And lastly, some organization products. This IKEA pegboard has helped organize most, if not all, of the items that I have mentioned in this list. My husband has 3D printed some different shelves and spool holders, which have helped me organize and maximize the space on this pegboard. And I've placed this pegboard directly behind, on the wall behind the embroidery station, so it's been very handy having everything that I need within arm's reach. All right, there you have it. Everything you absolutely need and some very nice to have items to get you started with embroidery. Now, if you are interested to see how I embroider crew necks, check out this video where I go over a step-by-step guide and even use a lot of the items that I mentioned today. See you there. Do I want to say that again? Maybe one more time. Sheer fabric. Fine linens, sheer fabric. Why am I stuck on this one? Just say it. Sheer fabric. Sheer fabric. Okay. Spending way too much time on this one. Okay, moving on. I'm gonna need more water. Still kind of getting over a cold. Okay, I need to stop. Where do I? Okay, bye.